Hey everyone, and welcome to It's Time to Excel. And today, what are we going to be talking about? I've been getting this question a lot lately. Is it really worth it when you talk about software? So I thought I would bring it to you guys because you know what? Our whole entire thing about here is on It's Time to Excel, where we want to inspire and we want to ignite the possibilities that are all around us. And so I wanted to kind of share this with it because I've just been hearing this a lot. There's different softwares, there's different options, there's all these different things when it comes to accounting and money management and all these, and it becomes so overwhelming. And I wanted to just kind of take a step back and I kind of wanted to kind of explore that a little bit. So I want to thank you guys so much for taking time out today. And I want to thank you for joining in. And for those that come in live, please make sure that you come in and maybe pop into a comment. Would love to know that you're here so that we can just kind of have an opportunity to kind of chat a little bit. And for those that come in on the replay, please comment. Have an opportunity to kind of share some things because what I really want to do for 2021 is really start focusing in on, of course, talking about the profits and everything. And you guys are now familiar with, because Mr. Hammy, he's going to be making quite the bit of appearance here. Mr. Hammy is going to really start helping folks to turn Hamiltons into Benjamins. So as I've been kind of sharing that information with some of my networking groups, conversation's been coming up. So what systems are the best? What's the best way to go? And when I start talking numbers, people start glazing over. It's just part of the deal. And that's okay. That's okay. But then it kind of gets turned a little bit about, do I have to invest in this? What do I need to do? Is it worth the investment? Is it really worth it? And well, I don't know, because let's think about this. So I'm going to challenge you on that one. So do you think investing in software is a good choice? Or if so, what software is the best to invest in? And I get these questions on a regular basis as I'm talking to folks, and I always have a very similar answer. What is the best system? And for any of you watching or anybody that has heard my presentations in the past, know pretty simply I have one answer for that. What is the best system for you? The best system is the one that you're going to use. End of story. Hands down, that's the way it is. So if you're ready to excel and you're ready to get your business up and running and you want it to be running and functioning like a business, you've got to get a system that works. And what's the one that works? It's the one that you are going to use. So thinking about that. So let's think about this. There are so many systems out there. There's a system for everything. Some days it kind of feels like whack-a-mole. You can whack this one, and you can just go crazy. And the next shiny object is always there. So I'm going to challenge you to take a little bit different approach. I want you to take a step back, take a deep breath, and walk with me through this for the next little bit as we start talking about what things to consider and what makes the investment worth it. So first and foremost, of course, you guys know I focus on the money management systems and what kind of tools can you use and what makes the most sense and how much should I invest, and the list goes on and on. So as we're thinking about that, first and foremost, you have got to say, okay, you've got to evaluate whether or not, are you tech savvy? Are you willing to learn tech? How much time do you have to invest? There's a lot of factors that go into answering, is it worth it? Is the investment worth it? So what you've got to be thinking about is, what is your time worth? Too often as small business owners, we forget what our time is worth. We forget to take into consideration that our time is worth something. And that is not okay. What we want to be doing is we need to make sure that we take into consideration how much our time is worth. And that is part of the decision-making process to determine, is that tool or software worth it? Is it worth that investment? Because, and ultimately what you're doing is you're trading off. You're trading off some time for maybe streamlining processes. So in some cases, taking advantage of a software, you might be able to actually save yourself. Maybe it takes you 3 hours to take care of preparing your financial statements, because you're doing them by hand and you got to add them up, and you got to get a calculator and you got to erase, and you better have a good eraser because sometimes you can't add. You know how it goes. Or how much time are you spending? If it takes you 3 hours to do something that a software can give you in a matter of seconds, minutes, is that trade-off and that investment worth it? The answer is maybe, it just very well might be. And that's the things that when you're thinking and you're considering, that you've got to be thinking about it. What you're doing, is it trading off and giving you time back, shall we call it, in a roundabout way? And if you're doing that, where can you be spending that time more effectively? So maybe it's a case where, okay, this took me 3 hours before, but maybe investing in a software or a tool that's available, whether that's Microsoft Excel, whether that is a software program such as QuickBooks Online, QuickBooks in general, whatever, some kind of a software. By doing that, now what am I trading off? If I can gain back basically 2 hours and 45 minutes, because I'm going to be generous and say it takes you 15 minutes to get financial reports done. Now, that's in QuickBooks, and that's the way that I do things. However, thinking about that, my financial statements take me about 30 seconds because I've done upfront work and I plan ahead. Each week I have time set aside. So I'm doing my time up front, and I'm going ahead and I'm doing the necessary steps to make sure when I'm ready for those financial statements, that window of time, that much is simple. But I've got it broken down. So I'm saving myself an average of hours. I don't even know what it would be because I have been very blessed and used the software for quite a while. But let's say we're trading that off, and I'm able to trade off 2 hours of my time. I can be out selling, doing what I love to do, and being out where I'm partnering with folks. I'm connecting with folks. I'm doing income producing activities. Is it worth the investment then? In that case, I would challenge you and say, yeah, I think it is worth the investment. There's always some kind of trade-off, and that's what I really, really want to do. Thank you, Anna, so much that has always been my motto. You need to really work smarter, not harder. And if we can do that, that makes such a huge, huge difference. So that's kind of what we're thinking about, and taking that opportunity to say, okay, is it worth it? So what things are worth it? We already decided that the best system for you is the one that you're going to use. That is absolute. That hands down, we got to do it. Because if you're not going to use it, I don't care what you're doing, it's never going to work for you. And you're going to get frustrated, and things are just not going to work where they need to. So I wanted to take a few minutes today and really kind of start talking about it. And I'm going to focus a lot on the money management. You guys knew that was coming. As I said, Hammy's making his lovely appearance because we're really going to focus. I really want to take some time in 2021 and focus on increasing profits. We can increase revenues. That's fabulous. And yes, that's part of the equation. We can decrease our expenses. Yes, that's part of the equation. But bottom line is, I want you to be making smarter decisions. And you can only do that if you know what's going on. When you need to know, especially when it comes to your finances and your money management, you need to know what's going on. You need to know how things are working, what kind of expenses are coming in, what kind of revenues are coming in. And we've got to find a system or a tool or a software that is going to help you to manage your business more effectively. And by doing that, we can increase profits. There's certain key things that you can do that you can just tweak that makes such a difference. And sometimes it takes connecting with someone who isn't in the weeds, shall we call it. It's always easier a lot of times for someone to see it when it's not their own. So, and that's why it's really important to kind of have a trusted friend. Anna, I see that she's on here. Her and I are accountability partners. We had that conversation earlier in the networking that we were in together, and we were able to kind of be that accountability for each other and kind of be looking at that so that we're taking full advantage of the system and tools that are available to us. And I think that's very, very important. So thinking about your small business, there were some statistics that it just drives me nuts when I start thinking about them. You know, small business owners, the odds are stacked against us, and I'm just not okay with that. So in the first year, the statistics that I have been reading, and these might be up now because we're not going to talk about 2020 because that could have skewed all kinds of numbers, but 20% of businesses were failing in the first year. And by year 5, 50% have failed. That seems crazy to me. And I'm like, okay, so why? Why is it? What is the biggest issue that is causing these small businesses? What's their biggest challenge? And you know what that biggest challenge was? Out of a survey, 82% of the folks admitted that their failure was in direct correlation to the inability to manage cash. They couldn't manage the cash flow of their business. Here's the good news. It doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be complicated. It can be simple. It really can. And that's what I'm really focusing on this year because it is time to excel. It is time, and we can do simple solutions. Now, notice nowhere in there I said easy. It's simple, but it has to be done. And then I started thinking about some other things and kind of reading up on something. Like, this money thing's got to be a challenge, and we know that. And we've talked a little bit about that. But even thinking about emergency funds, do you have anything set back up? Do you have a system in place to do that? Well, what if I would challenge you and say, you know what, you can actually set a system up, and let's say you're using a software such as QuickBooks, you can actually incorporate what is known as the envelope system that Dave Ramsey talks a lot about. Mike Michalowicz's profit first approach, where you're taking a proactive approach and kind of blending all of that. You can actually do that right within QuickBooks. And I have a process that I work through with my clients that actually helps them to take a proactive approach because we have a system and tool in place with the software that we're using. So is the investment worth it? Would it be nice when it comes to something that goes wrong? Because, invariably it will. Murphy and mayhem come in the doors. You may kick one out the back door, but somebody will come in the side door or the window, or they'll find an opening somewhere. And it's going to happen. It's inevitable. Things are going to happen. And wouldn't it be nice to have a system in place utilizing and knowing exactly that you have some money set aside for those unexpected emergencies that are going to creep up invariably, and usually all in the same week and about 4 or 5 of them at a time? That's just life. That's just life. And that's okay. That is okay. What we need to do is make sure we have that system. So is it worth the investment in that system? I'm kind of thinking possibly. There's another reason. Is it necessarily tangible? Not necessarily, but if I know that I have that system in place and I'm tracking my numbers the way I need to be tracking them so that I can actually gain the ability to run financial reporting when I need it, I can actually have a proactive approach and know exactly how much I have set aside for things of the unexpected nature that love to occur and come up. Is it worth that investment? Sure is worth a lot to me because my stress is down. And that's one of the things that's another factors that we need to consider. Is the tool or system that you're going to be investing in, is it going to reduce some stress? Because let's say facts, we all know stress. Stress can cause a lot of health issues. Anna would know on that very much. She talks a lot about that, where you got to be healthy from head to toe. You absolutely have to be healthy from head to toe, and that's from top to bottom. And part of that is your mindset. And when you're stressed, I'm sorry, you do not make great decisions. At least I don't. I mean, I don't know. If somebody can make great decisions when they're super stressed out and not thinking straight, more power to you. But the majority of us typically struggle. We don't make the best of decisions when we're stressed. I know I certainly don't. I've got myself some really stupid injuries because I was just mad and, slammed into something, or had a trunk lid come down on my head. I'm like, okay, that was really, really dumb. And I got into that situation because I was mad, wasn't paying attention to what I was doing, and I know better. And how often that happens in our business? We know better, but we get ourselves so wrapped up in a tizzy that we just never take time to start thinking about some of the fundamentals of our business. Because there's so many things. When you're juggling a business, you are juggling so many hats as a small business owner. And too often what happens is when it comes to the accounting functions, it comes to tracking those numbers, it goes to the bottom of the list. So now the tizzy and the frustrations are all going, and now you're going to make some silly decisions that you didn't have to do because we didn't have the tool in place. We didn't invest in something that was going to help us to run our business more effectively. And thinking about that too, think about it when you're talking about business, and more especially when it comes to finances, our business and our personal lives, they mirror each other. Now, they're not integrated. Key point here, something that I like to bring up. Your business life and your personal life, as far as finances are concerned, the two shall never meet in the respect. You run a business account, you run a personal account. Will there be funds transferred back between the two? Of course there are. Your business is paying your personal life. Okay, that's fine. Sometimes you have to invest in your business from your personal funds. That's fine. However, the accounts are kept separately and it's tracked in a very specific way so that you know exactly how your business is doing. You know exactly how profitable your business is. Yes, they mirror each other. So what we want to do is we want to help you to get the tools in place so that you can make effective decisions and make good decisions. And that makes a big difference. Because the last thing I want to find yourselves into, if we do not get these foundations in place, especially when it comes to our finances, you end up spending more than you make. And considering 2/3 of Americans kind of are in that boat, anyhow, you get the point. Too often, credit cards can get maxed out. And all of a sudden, your job, which is supposed to be paying you, has no money left because there's nothing in the account because it seems to have miraculously just disappeared. That's not what we want. Now, if we can have a system and software or whatever tool we're using in place to make sure that's not happening, we can actually reduce some of that stress. We can reduce the time it takes to produce those financial statements, or let's think about this. All that information the accountant's going to need that's coming around here in a really short time frame, like April 15th or March 15th, depending on where you're at, some different deadlines. Don't spend countless hours doing it. Let's get the software and tools in place. Let's invest in something that's going to make this a little bit easier for you. Because ultimately, when you do that, you will keep more money in your pocket. You will know if you're profitable, and you can make those better decisions. Because the last thing we want is confusion. Confusion gets too crazy, and that's not where we want to be. Because a confused mind does nothing. So let's figure out what those tools are. So what are some of those tools? How do we start? It all starts with, first and foremost, you have got to make the time. You have got to decide right now, and that's what I want to challenge you to do right now. Pull out your phone, pull out your calendar. I don't care how you do it. Pull out something, get it on your calendar, and schedule some time for yourself to work on your business. I know you don't like to do it, and very many do not, and that's okay. But you know what? That's part of owning your business. There's a lot of things you can delegate. This is not one of them. You can delegate some of the tracking side once we get the systems in place. Cool with that, but we're not there yet. We need to take that step back, because bottom line is money doesn't spend itself. So why don't you know where it's going? So we need to get those tools and software and get a good investment so that we can do that. Because once we get that time set aside, now we can start figuring out how we can do it. So block on your calendar an hour a week, whatever. Start somewhere. We'll start with an hour. I mean, it's all going to kind of vary in your business, but let's start somewhere. Get that hour blocked on your calendar, and let's start figuring out what all we need to do. Step one, we got to track them. We got to track our numbers, whether we like it or not, and that means every single doggone penny, nickel, dime, dollar that goes through your business account. Remember, they mirror your personal, but we're going to talk about business right now because we are looking to excel in your business right now. We need to make sure that we are tracking those numbers. So that means all the money coming in and all the money going out of that bank account, which is separate from your personal account, is being accounted for. And there's software and tools that can do that, whether it's Microsoft Excel, whether it's pen and paper, whether it is something, a software like QuickBooks. And I'm just going to use that as my solution right now when I'm talking about software. There's a boatload of others. Personally, I've had some great success with QuickBooks Online. I am a pro advisor. I'm a certified pro advisor with them. And I work with my clients to make sure that we get systems in place and that you're on the right version of QuickBooks too, because there's multiple versions of everything out there. And I do encourage you, find out what system you need. Talk to someone who is willing to kind of explore the different possibilities that are out there, because you need to know what's available so that you can make that right decision. But the bottom line is we've got to find a way to track those numbers. So step one, track the numbers, because we've already put in our calendar that we're going to take some time to do this. So how are we going to do it? All the income coming in, all the expenses going out, and where in the world, what's the bottom line when you're done? Did you have more revenue or more expenses? Because that's going to make a difference. Now, as a part of the small business owner, there are cyclical things. It goes up, it goes down, it peaks, there's valleys. It is what it is. Now, if we have that tracked and we can look back in the past, guess what? Now we can forecast the future. Think about that. If I know what's going on and I've got some history, shall we call it, and I can look back on last year and I can see that June was a fabulous month and September was absolutely a horrible month. Maybe my business doesn't do as well in the fall as it does in the summer. And if that is consistently the case, guess what I need to do? Now I can start thinking and I can start being proactive, knowing that the fall's not going to be so good. So I better be putting some money back in the summer when my good months are happening, so that I can even out that a little bit and I'm not panicked and stressed and frustrated and start making really bad decisions because I don't have time to think straight. I think 2020 has been a prime example. Sometimes you just can't think straight. Welcome to life. And I know it is what it is. And we all kind of get snowed under at times. But the good news is, if we know what the basics and we build a solid foundation, we can get back on track because our foundation will support us. And that's what I want to encourage you to do. I want you to excel with that foundation in place, and especially when it comes to money. So great. Pen and paper works, that's cool. Not a problem. You're doing a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet, or at least the math is out of it, and you can do some really cool functions and formulas. Utilize the software for what you got. But if you are running a business and you need to have financial statements at your fingertips and you need to know exactly what's going on, I think as you're thinking about it, is the investment worth it? In my opinion, absolutely. It is worth an investment to have the software tool that you will use that will make your life, one, a lot more streamlined and able to grow and sustain future growth. So we're going to get that system in place because we're going to start tracking our numbers. So as we're doing that, so what are some of the benefits of that accounting software? So let's talk about specifically on QuickBooks Online. There is different levels of QuickBooks Online. So on top of that, you can go from the self-employed mode to Simple Start to Essential, and I could rattle this all off. Which one's best for you? I don't know, because it depends on you. It depends on where you're at. What is your tech level? What are you willing to learn? And how much, there's so many factors. So I really want to encourage you, if you've got some questions on that and QuickBooks Online is something that you would ever want to consider before you jump into anything, have a chat with me. And all I'm doing is just sharing information. I'm going to ask some certain key questions. I've got 20 years of accounting background that are coming back, so I ask questions different than most because I'm very firm on the fact that what's the end result? Where are we trying to go? And I'll at least arm you with information. Beyond that, you make your decisions. There are definitely some benefits to that, and I would love to at least have you aware of them before you jump in one way and then find out that maybe that it was either more than you needed or not enough. And now you can't do what you thought you could do, and now you're frustrated. Now you're just going to give up because now it's not worth the investment. That's not what we want to go. We want to really focus in on helping you to excel. So as I said, if QuickBooks is something that you are interested in, especially QuickBooks Online, and I can even share some desktop, I've had background in both. So book a chat with me. Take some time. It's chatwithjanet.com. Just take 30 minutes. Let's talk for a few minutes. Let's see what kind of system. I'd be curious to find out also, what system are you using? How can I help you? Because I'm really focusing on how can I help folks to excel. So what training programs can I bring to you guys that are going to be helpful? And I'd love to learn a little bit more of what would be helpful for you. So let's go back to talking a little bit more about QuickBooks Online. So automation. Automation is a huge thing in QuickBooks. What it allows us to do is it allows us to take some of the quote unquote mundane tasks, such as typing every single thing in. It allows us to connect directly to our bank accounts, because remember, they're separate. So it's only your business account we're talking about in this particular QuickBooks. It's able to connect. Well, I can also connect my credit card, my debit card. Well, the debit's part of the checking. But anyhow, you can connect all of these, your savings account. All of these accounts can be connected in your QuickBooks. And by doing that, you can download your transactions from your bank. So everything that's running through your system there is automatically coming in. So all that typing that we used to always have to do, where writing it out by hand in pen and paper or typing it into Microsoft Excel, allows us, that stuff's already done. It's coming in from the bank. So I've got everything there. The cool thing with that also is when you go out and you actually have a receipt. Funny thing, I don't know about you, but sometimes I've been notoriously put it in my pocket, then it gets lost. Okay, it's happened occasionally. I have to be honest, it does happen once in a while. I'm usually very organized. I'm usually really good about putting them in a certain place, and I got my systems in place. Every once in a while, life gets in the way. I'm not sure about you, but I find that life gets in the way occasionally. And all of a sudden, the receipts get lost. Here's the cool thing with QuickBooks. I can pick up my phone. The minute that I have that receipt, I jot down on there, kind of if it was a strategy meeting, if I met somebody for lunch, or was it office supplies, whatever, I just kind of jot that down on the receipt, and I snap a picture of it right into my QuickBooks app that's on my phone. Now, Here's the cool thing. It's now in my QuickBooks. It now connects to when the bank processes that. So when the credit card hits, all of a sudden they connect. And right in my QuickBooks, I now have a picture of my receipt. Boy, that makes life a lot easier. I can exactly see everything is right there for me. Now all I really have to do is make sure when I get home is to put the receipts in the little binder because I really don't have to look at them again because they're already part of my system. So I have saved myself time, part of that investment equation, and started making things go a little smoother for me. Because if I'm not sure, I can always go get that JPEG. And it's right there. I know exactly what happened. So by doing that, I now have everything coming through. Everything is all connected, but not on just the bank account. I now have the credit card. So now the system, the software, is now taking all of those transactions and grouping them, which is all a report is grouping them into something that I can use. And all I need to do is run the reports at my fingertips. If I have my phone with me, if I have any device with me that can connect to internet, I now have my financial picture of my business at my fingertips and can make a much better decision regarding anything. I have my reports right there. I can pull a profit and loss report on the spot and see exactly what's going on. The cool thing with QuickBooks, and one of the biggest things that I am just so positive with any kind of software, is the drill down capabilities. So I ran a report and my number for revenue looks really, really low. What happened? All I need to do is click on that little number right there in QuickBooks, and it tells me all the individual transactions, no matter whether it was my credit card, whether it was my bank account. It all connects under there, and I can see exactly what's going on. Well, maybe something squirrely happened, but I'm able to find it pretty quickly with just simply a couple of clicks. And that to me is one of the biggest things when it comes to a software to consider. Make sure that you have some drill down capabilities so that you can make good educated decisions and you have your information at your fingertips. Let's not make taking care of your finances crazy. It doesn't need to be. We can build a foundation made of very simple steps and build upon that foundation. Think about it. When you build a house, your foundation starts. That can support 1 level, 2 levels, 3 levels. Think about that as your business. We get the solid foundation in place for you, and we get that all working, and you start building that solid foundation, you can start putting the layers of your business together. You can start growing because your foundation will support you. But we start on the foundation. We start with the simple steps that are required. And then we get a software and tool that is going to help us to do that in an effective manner so that we're not stressed and going crazy trying to figure it out. Some of the other cool things that are there, mileage tracker. That's always a big one for small business owners. Now, granted, we may not be traveling as much right now, but we'll pretend that we're going to go back in the near future. Part of QuickBooks Online is the ability to actually have that mileage tracker. And you just turn it on your phone and it disconnects it. So now the simple swiping, one, doop, doop, personal, business, that's about all it takes. So it doesn't take very long. And at the end of the year, you download a report and you hand it to your accountant and you're done. That's my way of doing some things. I want it to be simple and effective, hit a couple of buttons, run my reports, hand them to my accountant, and now we can move forward. Because I don't want to deal with, if I'm already now in February, I don't want to be dealing with 2020. That's gone. The only thing I want 2020 to help me do is make better decisions in 2021. Let me know what I need to be doing. So I need to get that moving. And I can do that by using a software. And I just run my reports QuickBooks, drop them in a folder, and kick them out. The other thing that's really cool when we're talking a little bit about that drill down capabilities, let's see that maybe I had something coded wrong. And when I started looking at the details behind it in my report, I realized it was wrong. I can actually click down into the individual transaction in QuickBooks, and I can change the coding on it, rerun the report, and I'm done. So it allows me to adjust things very effectively. And I have my new and improved, quote unquote, revised reports right then and there. And in one of the versions of QuickBooks, it even actually has a budget built in. So it's already built there and ready to go. But bottom line, what's the best system for you? The one that you're going to use. And the one that, is it worth the investment? Absolutely. There is a system that is definitely worth that investment. Because the bottom line is you want to be proactive, not reactive when life happens. You want to be as proactive as possible. You will never get them all. Don't try, but you know what? Be proactive, not reactive. Because one, you'll make a lot better decisions and you will set your business up to excel and set your business up for growth and sustainability. Because the last thing I want you to be is part of that statistic of the 82% that are going to fail in their small business world because they did not know how to manage their cash. It can be simple. And I would love to invite you to join me and Hammy because money does not spend itself. Join me, join us, come in here and comment. How can I help you to excel? I've got different folks coming up in the next couple of weeks. Please don't forget to come join us every Wednesday here at 11:30, where it's time to excel. Do not forget to put on your calendars the second Wednesday of every month, which is always our Lunch and Learn. In February, we went ahead and we had our Lunch and Learn for Zoho CRM. We had a great time at that, where we talked about customer relationship management. And we actually walk through Zoho and how it can be a tool that would be an investment for you. And they actually have a free version that would be, is it worth the investment? If there's certain things that you're looking for, then yeah, maybe that first level investment is worth it. Maybe a higher level is worth it. What's the ultimate goal? Let's start on that foundation. So many of my folks that I work with, we start with the lower levels and we start building from there. Just like when it comes to your finances, we start at one level and we start building from there. And that's exactly what we want to do. Next month, we're going to be talking about Canva. And so I'm starting to do a lot more techie on the Lunch and Learns. And I would love to have you join us. That is always the second Wednesday of every month at 11:30, 12:30. So usually I give you a couple little tidbits and little nuggets ahead of time and drop out there right beforehand. And then we slide on over to Zoom and we have our virtual Lunch and Learn. I would love to encourage you to continue to stop back. Definitely comment. How can we help you? I would love to see how I can help you to excel, how I can connect you with folks that can help you to excel, and just kind of join together. So thank you so much. Thank you, Anna, for being here. I appreciate it. Thank you for the comments, the great points. I appreciate all that we've done, the accountability, etc. And if there's something that I can help you with out, please join me. There are some group programs that are listed on my website over at excelwithme123.com. I would love to have you join me with those. I have a CFO 101 that we're going to focus on. I also have a Track Your Numbers Bootcamp, which is all about QuickBooks Online training and building that system in place so it's inclusive. It goes from the accounting side to the tracking side to how can I be proactive? And that's what we're doing. So I'd love to have you join us. If you're interested in it, please drop that into the comments. If there's something in particular that you would love to learn a little bit more about, just let me know. And I look forward to seeing you next week on It's Time to Excel, where we inspire and we ignite the possibilities that are available out there. And together we will all excel. Have a good one, everyone. Bye.